So welcome. My name is Cheyenne Martin. I'm the executive director of Channeling Hope Foundation and mother to a 19-month-old with an NALCN disease called Cliffad syndrome. As brief background, mutations in the NALCN gene and its associated proteins or channelosome, hence where we get part of our name, are associated with severe child neurodevelopmental disorders. We officially formed in July and received our nonprofit status shortly after. And now that we're establishing ourselves, we wanted to create this opportunity to connect with other families and our supporters. Thanks to everyone in the future who watches this recording. We'll work to find a time that works for multiple time zones for future webinars. Just a couple housekeeping items. If you have questions, please use the chat box or come off mute when asked to do so. And then also feel free to come on video if you are speaking. It'd be great to get to know everyone. So let's get started. So when we first received Cora's diagnosis, we were pretty devastated. But after an initial period of grieving and then settling into a routine of seeing specialty doctors, getting used to daily and nightly orthotic brace wear and then weekly therapies, we wanted to do so much more. Fortunately, we were not alone, neither in the rare disease world where progress really is driven by families, nor in the small world of NALCN related diseases where we connected with other parents over shared hope for a world free from NALCN channel diseases. Our goal as parents and as an organization is to build a global community of NALCN families, researchers, and providers to advance care and develop treatments for patients affected by NALCN-related diseases. And so I will pause now and ask Jeremy, who is our scientific director, Cora's dad, and also a co-founder, to talk about our values, our pillars of hope.
Hey everyone, thanks Cheyenne for leading us off, and thanks everyone who's joining in for this. So when we first all sat down together as a group and thought about when running an organization, what were the things that were important to us in helping to guide us going forward? So the first was collaboration. This is an ultra rare disease, and it's a small community. And at the end of the day, we're the people who are going to care most about this disease and the people affected by it, and we're the ones who are going to be able to make a difference. And so it's so important to us to collaborate with anyone and everyone interested in recognizing that we can really go further and go faster by working together with other families, with researchers around the world and elsewhere, and really bringing together our combined expertise, passion, and resources. The second was the ambition, is that even though this is an ultra rare disease, that we can still make a difference and we can make a large impact for children affected by these diseases and for families. We realize that in talking to other rare disease organizations and in talking to researchers and the NIH program officers in the field, that at the end of the day, we can make a big difference if we work together in doing so. The third is transparency, that in recognizing that trust is so important, and we really want it to be open and make everyone feel comfortable and on board and familiar with what our current financial operations are, our scientific goals, and to be accountable towards everyone and towards everyone who's willing to support and work with us to maintain that trust and support. And the fourth is inclusion. We really, as I mentioned before, realize we can go further and faster together and are open and would love anyone who's interested and willing to be involved. The more input and hands on board, the better we'll be collectively. And so are very open to anyone who's interested in joining our efforts.
Thanks, Jeremy. So we've grown a lot in the last few months. We are led by a board of directors with technical assistance provided by advisors who are our friends and family who have donated their skills. And our new scientific advisory board, which is comprised of world experts in NALCN, and I truly mean that. None of us receive financial compensation for our participation in Channeling Hope. So with a background in managing large grant-funded health projects, I've taken on the role as executive director. Suzanne, who is a co-founder and mom to Lucas, is our director of partnerships. She began connecting with folks a year before we even met, with hopes of starting an NALC and Focus Foundation in the US. Diana is our director of philanthropy and fundraising, and mom to Amanda. She jumped in immediately after we formed to start fundraising for research. Jill is our very talented director of marketing communications and mom to Rory. If you notice that all of a sudden we became much more polished and active on social media, you now know why. Chris is a CPA and is experienced in auditing nonprofits. He has actually been advising us since before we formed, but we're thankful that he has now recently joined us in an official capacity as our director of finance. And then at this moment, we would love for someone to join our team to lead family and community engagement around the world, although we really welcome any expertise that you have to offer. You can either get involved as a board member, which would involve weekly participation, or as a technical advisor who can support us on an ad hoc basis, which averages out to about monthly or quarterly. And for technical assistance, we're looking for additional support in fundraising strategy and web design. Although a huge shout out to Brett Elderman, who created our current website. I will turn it back to Jeremy to introduce our scientific advisory board.
Thanks, Shan. So as a little on my background, so aside from being Shan's husband and Cora's dad, my other day job is as a neurologist on the adult side here in San Antonio at UT Health San Antonio. And I also do research related to dementia and Alzheimer's disease. And so from my standpoint, when I first learned about the diagnosis, I, of course, went to read everything I could about it and to learn as much about these diseases and otherwise that I was able to. I was at UCSF at the time, doing my fellowship. And I was really fortunate to have the opportunity to meet Arno, who's really an international expert and an amazing person and neuroscientist who's really led the efforts in bringing together international researchers and collaborations for NALC and related diseases to better understand the biology, to better understand the related diseases, to make models necessary to study these diseases and to develop treatments. And I mean this when I say when talking to other rare disease organizations, we are so fortunate that for NALC and related diseases, we are already a step ahead in having these models and researchers involved that have been able to move the science much further forward. And that's in large part thanks to Arno and many of the physicians and scientists here on this board. And so we were really fortunate when Arno was willing to step in and take the leadership role in being our chief scientific advisor and to help reach out to colleagues around the world to help join us in this effort. And these are clinicians and scientists who have worked with NALC and related diseases and have been the pioneers in the field. And we're really fortunate to have them on our board and to help us identify what the scientific priorities are so we can recognize how we can make the biggest difference going forward. And so I'll just provide a brief overview on some of the scientific priorities and things we've been working on. So the first and foremost was to develop the scientific advisory board to help us to identify how we can make the biggest difference in gaps. So having worked on the research side before, much of it's grant-based, and grants are wonderful in that they can provide a large sum of money to be able to perform meaningful research. The challenge is grants often take a year from applying to actually receiving the funds to do the research, and you have to have an established research infrastructure and preliminary research to be able to even be competitive for these grants. And so in first designing how we can make the biggest impact, our priorities were to first recognize that we can help by providing the resources and infrastructure needed to be able to apply for some of these larger grants going forward, and we can enable scientists and researchers to work faster. Rather than having to wait a year to get started on a project, we could help them to get started earlier to help the disease move forward faster. And so what we've asked of the Scientific Advisory Board is to help us identify what are the current priorities and needs in the scientific communities to help us move forward, and then how can we best address those needs as an organization. And so I'm just going to share some examples of the things we've been working on. Much of this, so Arno and the ERA-LEAK RESTORE-LEAK consortium of NALCN disease researchers based in Europe led the first international workshop for NALCN and related diseases in Alicante, Spain this year. And we had the chance to meet everyone there and introduce the organization. And we talked to everyone there to learn what are the biggest needs right now? How can we best help the research move forward? And the first was in developing patient-derived induced pluripotent stem cells. So this is where from patients, they're able to take a blood sample and use that to develop stem cells that can then be used to create neurons and other models to study potential treatments for these diseases. And that's, as you can imagine, is really important to being able to develop genetic therapies, to being able to test different treatments in actual patient-derived disease models. And so we heard from many people that was the first priority. And so we're now setting up an infrastructure with Baylor College of Medicine, who they already have one patient sample, and we have 2 other people who are interested in contributing in the Baylor Stem Cell and Neuronal Differentiation Core is willing to develop these stem cell models for us that would be used as a resource for researchers around the world. So that was the first goal that came up. The second, and this is led by Dr. Daniel Kalame, who's a neurogeneticist at Baylor College of Medicine, was to develop a clinical topic to cover NALCN-related diseases. So gene review is what's used by geneticists around the world who care for patients with genetic diseases. And there hadn't been any literature or any data available for geneticists for CLIFAD and other NALCN-related diseases. And so he's leading an effort now to create this resource for physicians around the world to better care for patients affected by NALCN-related diseases. The next item that we're working on is developing high throughput screening. So this is a means of when first talking to people, to scientists around the world, most of the studies thus far in NALCN-related diseases has been testing one potential treatment at the time or one medication at the time and seeing if it helps in a disease model or otherwise. There hadn't been any drug discovery efforts, what I'll call high throughput screening, which is where they test 40 plus or sometimes even 100,000 compounds onto a disease model and see what could help. And this is a way to test many more treatments faster and to better identify treatments for NALCN-related diseases. And so we've been working to put together a collaboration and effort to do the first high throughput screening for NALCN-related diseases. And then the last item is to develop an NALCN patient database. So to be able to study potential treatments, a big part of it is understanding what's the natural course of this disease, because to see if a treatment can affect that course and can improve outcomes in children and for families. And so a part of that is understanding what's the normal disease course and how can we change that in the future. And so we're working on setting up a patient database. And if families are willing and interested in being involved, this is a great way to do so, where we can continue to follow people over time in what's called a clinical research study to understand what the disease trajectory looks like, to understand why some people have certain symptoms while others have different symptoms, and then perhaps most importantly, to test treatments to see if we can change that trajectory.
Okay, so as was mentioned, probably about 2 years ago in December 2021, we had gone to a doctor's appointment for Lucas, and the doctor had said it's really critical that you guys get a foundation or something going so that you guys can do all of this great research that Jeremy's talking about. And my background is not Jeremy's. And so while I knew it was important, it's really hard in the rare disease world, especially when NALCN disorders affect such a small group of individuals, to really make those connections. So I have to say I felt extremely lucky when Jeremy and Shan reached out to us we kind of connected in the spring, or actually it was winter of last year, and really started moving quickly and trying to put something together in the US in order to meet the needs of family. I had originally found a doctor that had done a study in Seattle and moved to Boston, and she was in Boston, and I connected with her on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn has been one of the ways that I've worked towards connecting. We now have over 211 followers or connections on LinkedIn. And the amazing part about that is that many of them are families or other foundations in the rare world, as well as other agencies and other folks that we're able to connect with and help grow our support for NALCN disorders. Because as we know, as rare disorders, we have to rely on the community and the connections within the community to kind of grow the research and the development and to help our kiddos. The exciting collaborations that we've made so far is we've connected with Library, and they are a rare disease resource, and they have now included us in their library. So search Library and you can find Channeling Hope Foundation. Similarly, there is an ion channel library that really connects different organizations and researchers that are working on ion channel research. Jeremy can talk much more to it, but there's other ion channels besides the sodium ion channel that impacts our kiddos, but the ion channel library really brings together the researchers and the communities to support research in our families and move forward the research. So we're now listed as a resource on the ion channel library, as well as there is a wonderful woman, Effie Parks, who has a podcast, Once Upon a Gene, that really speaks to the experience of rare disease families. And so we've connected with her through LinkedIn, and she's supported some of our connections and helping us connect with some other foundations. In addition, we've been able to connect with some of the foundations who've been really instrumental in helping us kind of get started and learn about how to start a foundation for a rare disease. And we give them a lot of credit for the support that they've given us to get started. We're always looking to expand our network. I think Jeremy had mentioned we're really looking at patient registry, patient database is super important. And there are some foundations or some agencies that have been working on that for a while. So we're connecting with NORD and some other research agencies, as well as some patient agencies and some other developers, to see how we can continue to expand and support our research and through the work that others have already done. So we're really relying on the agency and connections that we have to kind of support our research and move the foundation forward.
Great. Thanks, Suzanne. So I'm really excited to share the first real fundraising update that we have for Channeling Hope Foundation today. As I was kind of joining the team here, there was a lot of questions that I have around what fundraising we can do while Channeling Hope Foundation is really being started and kicked off. And Cheyenne had started a GoFundMe for a race that she was doing and was extremely successful with that. So up until now, we've been using GoFundMe as our primary source of fundraising. And as you can see at the values listed below these cute kids' pictures here, we had huge success. And the great thing here is all of these funds are going to go straight to the research that Jeremy has outlined at the beginning of this presentation. On top of that, the even better news is our Channeling Hope Foundation website fundraising is now available. And so all of our fundraising and donations, which can be tax deductible, are going to be available on our website now. And as you can see here, it's a really simple process to use. And even better is we have so many different fundraising options. So we have recurring monthly donations. You can choose a one-time donation, dedication options for gifts, and we can certainly get into those scenarios on additional webinars that we have, and also fundraising options that family and friends can help contribute to. The great thing here on the website is all the donations will be tax deductible. And on top of that, we are going to be having some special campaigns through the website for Giving Tuesday, which is the day, actually the Tuesday after, is it, what's the Monday called? Is it the day of the Thanksgiving shopping, the big Thanksgiving shopping day on the Monday. So Giving Tuesday, and then also Rare Disease Day, which falls on the last day of the month in February. So if you haven't had a chance yet, you can sign right up on our website to get updates on that. And we will be providing more information on these awesome campaigns that we're going to be doing. And also any families that are interested in kicking off any type of fundraisers, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, and we can certainly be more than happy to help you set up any fundraising that you're interested in.
And as Cheyenne mentioned at the beginning, I am doing or trying to assist the team as best I can with communication. The main goal is just to bring awareness. So the more people that we can help understand what we're trying to fundraise for, or what we're trying to get information out on, then the more people we can continue our mission through. We have lots of ways. So there's many of you probably are already signed up on our website, but for anyone listening, we would love to have you sign up on our website. There is a way to sign up for regular updates right from the page, and it'll make sure every time we blast something out through our blog or through an email, you will get that. You can also follow us on social media. So they already had great things set up before I came on. So hopefully now you're just seeing more frequent posts. But you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We also mentioned that we're doing LinkedIn, and then there is a WhatsApp application. There's a couple of different groups we can help you connect to if you're interested in learning more about the NALCN condition. And then there's also just staying in touch with us. We are planning to do this specific quarterly webinar again. Hopefully our next one we will be able to do in January. Our plan is to do it quarterly, and then be able to share a scientific update with you, our fundraising, where we're at with fundraising and our goals, and where we're at with our connections, and just keep you in the loop on what's going on with Channeling Hope. If you are interested in helping us, Cheyenne mentioned this at the beginning, but in any capacity, please do email us. Our email address is here. You can also contact us through the website. The email address is posted there, so that we can get you involved in whatever capacity works for you.
Thanks, Jill, and thanks everyone on the board. It's been a pleasure getting to know you and spend so much time with you over Zoom and phone. So we have some time left for questions. I see a lot of our family and friends on, some patient families. But if anyone has questions about what we've covered, you can use the chat box or come off video. And then before you jump off, can you just use the chat box to enter what you want to hear from us on next in January? Thank you. Okay.
For what you're doing. This is great. Thank you.
Thanks, David. Okay, there's no questions. Does anyone want to come off mute to let us know what you'd like to hear about in our next webinars?
I have a quick question.
Yes.
This is Adrian Malik. What do you see as your next steps?
So as an organization, we were really gearing up to announce ourselves and establish ourselves in time for the NALCN meeting in Spain. Even though the gene was discovered in 1999, it was the first time that world experts had come together to discuss it. And then once we had that behind us, our focus switched to setting up our fundraising platforms. I have somehow become a coder in my as a side job as I figure out all the new technology for being a nonprofit these days. And then we're kind of rounding out our third priority, which was establishing our scientific committee. And I think in the next month to 2 months, Jeremy's really going to be working with our scientific committee to prioritize what we're funding. We're starting to fundraise, and some initial fundraising has already gone to some projects, but now we can really start to prioritize what will bring us forward more. And then hopefully we'll be in a state of feeling settled, and it'll be smooth sailing in the years to come. No, Jeremy, if you want to add anything to maybe what you, based on your conversations with our board scientific committee, kind of what's high priority other than what you already introduced earlier.
Sure. So our biggest goal thus far has been, as Shay mentioned, getting started. So this is, for all of us, this is our third job, where we all have full-time jobs and we're parents of special needs children on the side. So we've been really learning how to get this started on the go. And because it's so important to us, if we don't do it, then there's nobody else who's going to. Our next step is really trying to continue to grow and expand our network. And when I say network, I'm talking about in terms of patient families. There's 5 of us right now. And for at least I can speak for myself, it was hard feeling helpless, that it was nice having, for me, it's been meaningful having a way to get involved and to try and make a difference and to try and help. And we'd love to have as many families who are willing and interested and available involved as well. The second is expanding our network in terms of researchers and communities. So as I mentioned, there's already been a lot of progress in the science, but there's a long way to go. This is an ultra rare disease. Unless a physician has cared for a patient with it, they're not going to have heard of this disease. And I think we really need to try and expand the scientific community and resources as much as possible to help move the field forward faster. And the last is to partner with other rare disease organizations. There's many that have made a big impact. And we'd love to continue to learn what's worked well for them, what hasn't, and how we can grow most optimally, recognizing that this is a family and parent-run organization. And I think honestly that's the biggest challenge going forward. Is there's so much to do, and there's only 5 of us to do it now, and so I think trying to have as many people on deck, both from the family side, from the research side, and otherwise, that trying to get the word out and to get as many people involved that are willing and able to do so as possible. And so I do think that's the biggest challenge, and our next focus is that network. Because this is such an ultra rare disease, and there's less than 50 known cases, and people are around the world. And so how do we get in touch with those people around the world and get people involved and to actually care as much as we do, or to be willing to work with us going forward? And so I think that's the biggest challenge.
And one of the goals that we have just through our communication, through the website, blogs, and our social media, is to find the people that need to know about us. So one, we will obviously be sharing information on how to fundraise, but then we also hope to share information on patient spotlights, different things that occur, like that different parents deal with, also just sharing information that Jeremy provides to us through his research updates, and get that out to people so that they have that as soon as we do.
And I'm just going to jump in on that. One of the cool things is that, like I said, it's been neat to connect with other agencies. We connected with a company called Probably Genetic, and they offer genetic testing to families. And then as part of that genetic testing, they're always trying to connect with agencies to then, or, foundations to then support families once the genetic testing has been done. And they connected with us on LinkedIn, and they had identified that one of their genetic testings had actually identified a child with an NALCN disorder. So they had reached out to us. So once again, like establishing those connections and trying to find every way possible to get our families involved and to support families and move forward together.
So I think you just heard that we have a lot of priorities at the moment, and that's why there's 5 of us and a 6th, including our director of finance, so that we can share the workload. Again, if you want to help with any of the things we've mentioned, and especially help us strategize and be efficient, we would appreciate it.
Thanks for a great answer.
Thanks for the question.
I probably have my question I know is premature, but does this sound like a single gene or a group of genes that are causing this issue?
I'm proud that I think I could provide a good answer to that, but I'll let Jeremy provide the official answer.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a great question. So NALCN is one gene, and this is a gene that's conserved across species, which is from our standpoint, helps in being able to develop models and to study this disease. That being said, these diseases can also be caused. The NALCN gene we know is associated with 3 other proteins that form this NALCN channel. And this NALCN channel or channelsome in order to function normally requires these 4 different proteins that we know of. There might be more that haven't been discovered yet, but it's 4 that we know of. So what we've learned in studying these diseases thus far is that if you have a loss of the function of the NALCN gene, that leads to a severe NALCN related disease. And then if you have a randomly acquired mutation in the NALCN gene, that leads to a gain of function in the channel, meaning an increased current in the channel, and that's associated with CLIFAD. And we've also started to learn that if you have mutations that affect those other 3 proteins that are associated in the channel, that can cause a very similar disease or NALCN related diseases. And so when we say NALCN related diseases, we're really talking about any mutation or disease that can affect the functioning of this channel and the associated proteins. Right now, there's 3 confirmed and 1 likely to be confirmed aspect or different syndromes associated with the NALCN channel.
Thanks, Jeremy. There's a question about is Apple Pay to donate enabled on our donation page? As of about 48 hours ago, the answer is yes. If you live in the United States, we are still working on accepting direct payments from banks, mostly in European countries. So bear with us.
And to add to that, Cheyenne, one thing I did forget to mention is that we are in the process of looking to be able to fundraise via Facebook as well. It's actually a 0 fee fundraising opportunity for us. And so we are, I have reached out to Facebook to get a fundraising and donate option on our Facebook page. So more to come there as well.
Another add-on for fundraising is if your employer, or if you wouldn't mind, if you are interested in donating, checking to see if your employer matches donations, that would be helpful. All right. Any additional questions? Well, thank you. What are the main areas we can start helping now? So I think considering all of the priorities that were just mentioned, assisting with fundraising strategy, donating directly so that we can expedite those scientific projects. If you represent a rare disease organization, or if you know someone with an NALCN disease, of course, connecting to us, as Suzanne said. And then if you have web design skills, we're looking to grow that as far as our marketing and communications. And then down the road, I think there will be needs related to legal advice, and some other needs that we probably have not even faced yet. So if you have an expertise, if you're in business or nonprofit management and you have a skill, please do reach out to us. Thanks, David, for your question. You'd love to hear more about therapies that families are currently using. Oh, thanks. With children for the next webinar. Definitely, we will do that.
Yeah, and David, you bring up a good point, which is at the end of the day, right now, everyone is kind of on an island where everyone is figuring out what works best for their children or family member, and there hasn't really been a collective effort yet to understand as a group what therapies seem to work and what therapies don't. And that's one of the goals of the patient network database, and as well as other efforts, is to really start some of these critical clinical research studies so we can come together and identify as a group. These treatments seem to work more often. These treatments don't help. What should we be thinking about, and at what age, and with what symptoms? Because right now it's all word of mouth from parents and trial and error. And to really be able to move the medical care forward, we need these clinical research studies to better systematically evaluate what treatments can help, so we to help guide clinical care going forward.
Related to that, we were able to record the 2 parent panels at the NALCN meeting in Spain, and we're working on getting those onto our website. The parents can log into the website and watch those recordings. There was testimony by parents, and as well as kind of a consensus answer among the providers there, which for a rare disease, unfortunately, meant that there were a lot of unknowns at this time. Any final comments from any of our board members? All right.
Thanks, Jan, and thanks everyone for joining in tonight, and thanks to the board team who made this possible. It's been amazing just for each one of you, having you on board, how much more we've been able to accomplish. So it's been really awesome getting to work with each of you. And thank you very much for everyone for taking the time in the evening to join in.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.